Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a brand new season of Lights Camera Akron. I'm Tyrese West, bringing you the latest stories around Akron. So, as we all know, COVID-19 is still active. Summit County has been registered a level 4 security concern. The University of Akron now has 21 active cases of COVID-19. The university has no further information on the individuals or their conditions currently. So, we urge everyone to continue to maintain social distancing, wear masks in public, and keep practicing sanitary precautions. In other news, amid civil unrest and resulting protest, we spoke to Sierra Mason. Sierra is one of the lead organizers of the protest and a member of the Ohio Community Coalition. She is an avid activist, and she has provided us with great insight. Take a look. The life of a Black hero is not for the meek of heart. So Trope's lead organizer of the protest, Sierra Mason, in her fight for change.
Being on the front lines is a passion of mine. It's something that I'm proud, to do. Something, that is very dangerous and, very risky. When I go out there, I'm putting my freedom on the line, and it is done to bring attention to a problem that needs changed.
Sierra has participated in many protests and other community events to bring attention to the issues in her hometown. As a result, she has had many encounters with law enforcement, some not positive.
Protesting is not something that you go to for fun. It's not something that it should be taken lightly at all. Our community is very divided, and we need to be able to come together. So that's been one of my lingering thoughts is how can we unite and actually make the change that we call for. Protesting is very important and definitely a piece of the journey, but let's not also forget that protesting is not the end. Being in the protest in general is eye-opening, and if you haven't been to a protest, I do encourage you to go to a protest, whether you're in the midst of it or even just observing, because it's a piece of history that I feel like everyone needs to be a part of.
She is working to make sure that her voice and the voices of her community are heard loud and clear.
I really want people to know that no voice is too big or too small. I guess I really want people to know is we're all the same. At the end of the day, we're all people, we're all human. And regardless of your skin color, your ethnicity, how old you are, how young you are, who you vote for, what party you claim, what business you own, what social class you're on, at the end of the day, we all are made up of skin, bones, and, we need to, be able to come together. I'm 22 years old, and a lot of people don't believe in, the change that I'm trying to make, or that I can make the change that I'm calling for. Because all of this division in our world is continuing to tear us apart. There's no difference between me and Joe Schmo because he's white, because he's Latino, because he's gay, because he's whatever, he labels himself. The labels that we have are, what's tearing us apart, and the labels don't matter. We're all one, we're all human. And I really hope that, 5 to 10 years down the line, people can see that if you don't give up, if you're persistent, if you're consistent, you can actually make the change that, you are asking for, you're calling for.
Equal opportunity, fair treatment, anti-racism, and community unity are her motivators, but her biggest motivator is her 15-month-old daughter, Jasmine, whom she fights the hardest for.
It's a duty to my people, it's a duty to my daughter. My daughter deserves a better future, and I tell people this all the time. If you have nothing to fight for, my 15-month-old should be enough, because she, didn't ask to be here. She's a biracial child, and she deserves a better future than what I went through. So I fight for many, many, many reasons, but she is definitely my number one reason. And if we didn't have that support, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in today.
Any mother in her position would do the same. So she continues to fight the good fight in the name of her people, her community, and her daughter. She had a lot of great points. I think we all could learn from her perspective. She has learned a lot, and so should we. In these confusing times, it is important that we keep the conversation open and continue to learn and educate ourselves, especially for those who experience it on a daily basis. Which brings me to our next segment. We had the opportunity to talk to some representatives of the Black student organizations and the UA Police Department to get their perspectives on the subject. Let's check it out. The first thing that comes to mind when the topic of protest comes up is the eruption of violence that follow. Officers on the scene try to control the bedlam, using methods to get the crowd to disperse. These actions have caused a stir of powerful emotions that results in even more mayhem. This mayhem has garnered division between citizens and law enforcement. Our team spoke with officers from the UA Police Department to get their insight on the situation.
I personally believe that protest is needed. I believe that it's warranted. It's one of our First Amendment rights to free speech. I'm a father. I believe that my kid should be able to have a voice and be heard. Also, I think that the protests, for the most part, are reported as peaceful. From the law enforcement side, I still support peaceful protest. As law enforcement, I would only get involved when someone's life is in jeopardy.
I agree completely. I think the only thing I would add from my point of view is that just stress the importance of speech and protest. That's how society's evolved. That's how the United States has evolved as a country, is through speech.
Police at UA are beloved by all of its students, and they stand behind their right to free speech.
Here at the University of Akron, we have the freedom to where we want our students to be able to express themselves. We've had some protests in the past, and from the police, we stand back. We want people to be able to exercise their voice and their opinions. The only time you're ever going to see us get involved is when someone's life is in jeopardy, or when things are escalating out of control to where there may be large amounts of vandalism or damage.
The officers ensure that the campus is a safe place for its students and is carefully watched over by its police department.
We support it. So we're probably just going to have an officer or two stand back and watch just to make sure everything is safe. And report if something becomes unsafe or if criminal violations begin, then we would respond. But right from the beginning, we're probably going to stand back and watch.
Right, and just kind of let it happen until there's a need to step in.
Yeah, absolutely.
They say that the divide between law enforcement and the community is a result of mishandlings in between departments.
Each community is different, okay? I was born and raised in the city of Akron, and my experience is completely different from the next person, so I can only answer for me. But there is a time where my parents, my elders, had pulled me aside as a young black man and said, this is what you should expect from the police, even though I've never had those bad experiences. Transition many years later as the father of a young black male, I've had that conversation with him. And it's nothing about law enforcement, but it's about being a male and where something may be misconstrued as a challenge of authority. When I teach my diversity class and bias, I like to tell other officers that if you go to a bad dentist, you're going to tell your friends, your family, that you had a bad experience with a dentist.
Right.
Law enforcement is no different. If someone has a bad experience with an officer, they're going to tell 4 or 5 people. And that goes on and on through generations. So to say the stigma is there, I'm not saying that the majority of the black community do not trust the police, but there is the stigma there.
And that everyone should try to get to know their local police officers and vice versa. Unity comes with learning. We must all get to know one another to feel safe, even through the pandemic.
I think you still need to have groups that are willing to sit down and have tough discussions. I think communities, law enforcement, everyone has to take a deep internal look in themselves and figure out how to bridge each other's gaps and come together and work for positive and not negative.
You know, we're all part of the same community.
Right.
We're all in this together, and we all want the university to be successful. We all want our students to be successful. We want each other to be successful. So to do that, we have to do it together. You know, we're all part of the same community.
Right.
We're all in this together, and we all want the university to be successful. We all want our students to be successful. We want each other to be successful. So to do that, we have to do it together.
Is in law enforcement, the way I've been trained, the way I've been raised as a man, as an individual, and I've been given authority by the state of Ohio to do my job. I don't have time to sit and pick a side, but I personally believe that the all lives matters, blue lives matters, black lives matters has been so political. We've had, my experience, I've been here 9 years, a good relationship with the black orgs on campus. If they want to reach out and speak to police, we're open. It's open dialogue. Working for the city of Akron previously, I believe that the city of Akron, we had in law enforcement a good relationship with the black community. Each community is going to be different, and as I tell some of our students, if you're from Cleveland, Columbus, Pittsburgh, New Philadelphia, Dover, Millersburg, every person has a different experience about it. So you can ask 100 people and you're going to get
Right.
different variations of the same question.
Well, guys, it looks like it's time for our first commercial break. We'll be back with more Lights Camera Akron when you return. Stay tuned. Our team also contacted a member of the Student African American Brotherhood, its secretary, Anthony Watkins, to give his perspective.
My name is Anthony Watkins. I'm a third year here at Akron. I'm the current secretary for the Student African American Brotherhood.
Watkins recalls an event where he was wrongfully apprehended by law enforcement simply because he matched the description of a person that they believed had committed a crime prior.
Oh, so when I first like 3 years ago, when I first got to Akron, I had just went to the store. I was walking back to my dorm, and Akron usually sends out these emails where if something happens in the neighborhood, they let you know. So, I was walking, and just a bunch of cops literally just cut me off, stopped me, and was like, "Where are you coming from?" I told them I'm coming from the store. They was like, "Yeah, you fit the description of a robbery that just took place." So, like, they put me in handcuffs. I had to sit in the back of the car for like an hour to wait for the people to get there, and then the people got there, and they was like, "No, that's not him." So, and then I still had to sit there, and then they're like, "We need to run a background check." When I was so confused, I didn't know what to do. So it was challenging, scary, because you don't think things like that can happen to you. So I was just sitting there like, I'm really about to go to jail for something that has nothing to do with me. And it was just a whole thing. It was a scary moment.
He doesn't let this experience dictate his perception of all officers. He believes that we all should learn from his experience, and others like it, to draw a plan of action to prevent these instances from happening again in the future.
Educate yourself, get to know your law enforcement in your community. You can always call downtown and see which cops are designated for your area. Send out emails, talk to cops like he said, do ride-alongs. Just inform yourself on the laws, because not all cops are the same, and everyone should be treated equally. So yeah, just educate yourself and, just stay informed.
Is working with his student organization to promote education between communities in hopes of reaching a larger audience.
Just actually having like events or workshops, so we're actually there, we're actually face to face with the cops, we're actually talking to them, we're actually getting to know them.
He expressed his grief with the division in many communities, saying that they aren't doing enough to emphasize accountability.
So like right now, if we just start holding each other accountable for our actions and what we're doing, everything will start running and everything will start going a lot smoother. It's like we have some good cops, then we have bad cops, but the good cops, they're good cops, but they're not holding the bad cops accountable for what they're doing. So it's like a domino, like I said earlier, it's like a domino effect. It's like one cop does something now, I think everyone now, in my head, all of you guys act the same, all because nobody's holding nobody accountable.
These symbols are how people use their free speech to express their concerns. Each, while true in their own right, have garnered a great deal of stigma, resulting in a disconnect in the bigger picture.
It's not just whites, it's not just Hispanics, like everyone matters. We just want you to focus, like, all right, you guys have been focusing on everyone else, but at the end of the day, it's our community that is that danger. It's our community that's being killed off. It's our community that's just being thrown in jail for senseless things. So when I see like Black Lives Matter, I want everyone to realize that it's not that we only care about ourselves. We just want you to know that, like, we are here, we matter, we have a voice. We just want you to listen. That's all.
His philosophy involves creating and enforcing more concrete laws to help departments manage punishments for misconduct, making it more fair for those involved.
Because a lot of times there will be problems, and as a community as a whole, over the years, we have become scared and kind of laid backish to actually voicing our opinion about certain situations. And what we have to realize is, if we don't speak on anything, if we don't actually go out there and voice our opinion to let law enforcement know, and let any official in big offices in law know that we don't like what's going on, we don't agree with this is going on, voicing your opinion, writing letters, going to offices, trying to meet with these officials and actually getting your opinion across is what we need to do. So protests are very good, are very beneficial, informational, and I feel like everyone should participate, just in the simple fact that, like, all right, well, they're not listening any other way.
Having a unified goal is important to the process of learning. It just wants everyone to take a good long look at each other and communicate.
But in some places where it's actually cops going out and actually playing with kids in the community, actually holding community events for the people of that community or the people of that neighborhood to get to know them, so that they know, like, all right, well, we just here to protect you. We're here for you. We're not against you. We want to do this. So more community and there more social community and interaction between cops and the Black community, or every community as a whole.
We must examine the personal biases that have been ingrained into us and criticize the systems that continue to teach them.
It's deeper. It's a lot deeper than what people think. It's not just, you can post and say Black Lives Matter. You can tweet. You can post on Snapchat, Instagram. But if you're not really, like, actually applying pressure to the situation, and what I mean by pressure, some people take it as in that, you're not yelling, you're not screaming, you're not being violent. No, applying pressure means, like, actually standing by what we're saying and what we're talking about. So if you're going to talk about Black Lives Matter, actually live it. Actually go out, support these Black-owned businesses, support these local Black orgs, support these Black children in the community. Do things to bring your community together, because at the end of the day, none of this will end if we don't come together as one.
Well, it looks like it's time for our second commercial break. We'll be right back with more Lights Camera Akron. Stick around. I want to thank the UA Police Department and the SAAB Secretary Anthony Watkins for participating. I think this conversation is needed now more than ever, considering how hectic the protests can get. Speaking of which, we managed to go to a protest at Kent State Start campus and talk to some of the protesters. Let's watch. It's a beautiful Saturday morning on the Kent State Start campus. Many students and staff members gathered outside of the center to protest for greater representation in their curriculum. They protest in response to the recent vandalism on their rock that depicted offensive and hurtful rhetoric.
That someone had posted on Facebook actually this morning, and it was a teacher who had the names of several people, and they wanted to write an essay on what they thought that made them a hero. There was Malcolm X on there, there was Gandhi, but there was George Floyd on there. But they had the shooter from Kenosha on there. What was his name? Does anybody remember his name? Whatever his name is. They had him on there. How is he a hero? And how are you going to make that a class assignment with his name even on there?
Organized by the president of the Ohio Community Coalition and members of the Black United Students, the group marched around campus to shed light on their grievances. They are standing up for themselves and others. They want to see a significant change in their campus regulations. Hopefully, they get the response they're looking for.
So we're here to bring awareness to the lack of diversity here on the STAR campus. Recently we had an incident of racial hate speech on the rock at the main campus, and we're also bringing awareness to that and trying to get our administration to make changes to prevent another incident like that in the future.
They have reached out to their board with a list of demands, each with their own problem to negotiate.
Yeah, so I think that the purpose of this protest is to show that there is a bigger reason for why we're all protesting at Kent, the Kent campus, the Kent Stark, all the regional campuses, because it's bigger than rock. There is a systemic issue of racism here at Kent, and that's something that gotta change. And the purpose of us doing this right now is to call the attention of the administrators, because they're the ones that have the power to change everything that is wrong here. So we definitely want to have more inclusivity and diversity on staff members, faculty members, and make sure that this is a safe space for the students.
They know that they represent the minority and ethnic groups on their campuses. They want to see a significant change in their campus regulations. Hopefully they get the response they're looking for.
I think our efforts today will be sufficient on the basis that we have more people out than we did the last time. We have people from administration out here today. We got recognition from them. They know we're out here. They know what our demands are, and we're in the process of making changes at our local campus.
They shouted chants outside and on the street corner, which got a slew of different reactions from drivers passing by. They have taken a brave step in the right direction, and other students should follow their example. To keep their campus from dividing, they work to denounce racism and the rhetoric that follows. Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, double tap to our Instagram posts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at ZTV LCA for the latest. I'm Tyrese West, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode of Lights Camera Akron.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. Do you want to gain experience in video production, professional social media, or working with real clients? Visit the UA School of Communications online or follow us on social media to learn more. ZTV, make media, make a difference.